Hello everyone. So today we are going to look at a hand played between Daniel Negreanu and Michael Adamo. So Daniel went on this podcast with Lex Friedman and he talked about how Adamo is based in this clip and whatnot, and he used unconventional lines and was exploiting the pool. And then he was talking about this hand they played. So I'm not gonna play the clip because I don't want to get strikes, so I just explain it, what he said. So they were earlier in the tournament, they were around 250 big blinds deep, effective, and then he raised the button with ace king, and Adamo defended the big blind with 6-8 offsuit. The flop comes 5-7-9, so Adamo flops a straight. Adamo checks, and then he checks back. The turn comes a Badugi ace, so no flush draw on the board, I think. Adamo checks again, and Daniel bets half pot. He bets 3,000 into 6,000, and Adamo check raises to 36,000, which is a 12x raise, which makes sense, right? Because they are really deep. And Daniel calls. The river comes a 5. So the board pairs, which is really bad for Adamo because the straight is not the absolute nuts now. And Adamo jams. He 3x jams, right? Jams like 220k into like 80k. And Daniel calls and obviously loses. And then Daniel says that what Adamo did is indefensible, is clearly a mistake. He put it in the machine, and the solver said that it is a clear mistake, should never do that because the 5 is so bad for Adamo's range, which is true. We're going to look at in a second. But I think this is just Daniel's ego speaking, which I am guilty of myself as well, and I'm sure a lot of players. Because when you think that someone does something and it's clearly bad, but you still pay him off, I mean, it's not that bad, right? So let's look at the solver, right? Shall we? So this is Adamo's range. I took these ranges from GTO Wizard. These are 100 big blind ranges. I do not have 250 big blind effective ranges, so we're just gonna go with these. This should do fine as well. So Adamo checks range. So I gave Daniel only a 75% c-bet sizing. I run previous sims with bigger sizings, smaller sizings. The solver never wanted to overbet this pot, apparently. There was some smaller betting going on, but I just simplified it. So as you can see, the sets always betting. Some ace-5 is checking back here, and ace-9 is always betting basically. So Daniel doesn't have too many two-pair and sets combos that he gets to the turn with. Anyway, Daniel checks, and turn is an ace. And as you can see, I gave Adamo 2x, 1.5x, and 75% sizing, and he clearly wants to use the 2x pot size. I mean, if I gave him a 3x pot size, I think the solver actually would prefer that, but I did not. So as you can see, 8-6 is already leading here like 30% of the time or something. But Adamo checks, and I only gave him Daniel a half pot size because he used that sizing and wanted to see what the solver wants to do. And as you can see, all the strong ace-x wants to bet around 80% of the time combined. So there's some checking back going on. But anyway, Daniel bets. And I gave him a 12x and a 6x check raise. As you can see, the solver clearly wants to use a 12x check raise because they are so deep, right? If you want to get the money, you have to check raise huge. And 8-6 is pure check raise, as well as the two pair combos. The bluffs gonna come from 6-4, 6-3, 4-3, and some 5-6. So he's check raising, Daniel calls. As you can see, the ace-x are already mixed folding, which makes them 0 EV here, right? If an action is mixing folding, it's 0 EV basically. So it's not a pure call on the turn already versus that sizing. Anyway, Daniel calls, and the river is a 5. So I gave him Adamo a jam, 1.5x size and the pot size. And Adamo only wants to use the pot size here, as you can see. And as you can see, 8-6 is basically always checking here. So not even pot betting. Actually, the solver wants to pot bet 5-6 offsuit pure more, right? Because that blocks bolts, I think. Even ace-9 is checking sometimes. So yeah, so that's why Dania said that Adamo shouldn't have done that. Let's look at actually hotness. We're gonna go with out of position equity. As you can see, all the cards that pair the board, the 5, the 7, the 9, the ace, are actually just super bad for big blinds range, right? Because he has straights now, and the straights are not really the nuts or nuts on the river. So the really good cards, obviously the low cards for him, because he's got shots make straights now, and he has some more two pair combos and straights as well. So anyway, when he bets pot, yeah, versus pot, actually like ace king actually jumps sometimes because Adamo checks a lot of his ace nines and 8-6. So versus pot, then yeah, I can jump sometimes, but still mixed folding. Okay, so I reran this sim and changed a little bit of Daniel's strategy. Let's look at that. Okay, so Adamo still range checking, and I made Daniel here check back all of his strong ace-x. Ace-10 suited plus and ace-jack of plus is pure checking back, which may or may not be what Daniel's doing, but let's just go with this, right? Okay, let's just imagine that he's checking back every time. So Daniel checks back. He's not thinking about mixing. He just wants to check back those, okay? So turn is an ace. And as you can see, Adamo is not leading now. He's 6-8. That's because I node locked Daniel on turn to pure bet all of his ace-x once he checks back, the strong ace-x. So he bets half pot with all of these combos right now. And yeah, again, 6-8 clear raise. There are still bluffs going on. As you can see, the 6-4, the 6-3s. Now the 4-3 is mixed folding. So, and on the turn I made him Daniel call all the ace king and ace queens. He folds the ace jack and ace 10 suited because when we go back, as you can see, there's some jack ace suited and 10-8 suited that check raises in Adamo's range, and Daniel with those hands blocks those, so he folds those and pure calls ace queen, ace king. So Daniel calls, and the river is a 5. And what do we see here? We see here that Adamo is jamming actually a lot of his range, right? The ace-7, the ace-9 that was almost pure checking in the previous sim, the 6-8 that was almost pure checking again. He's just jamming. He does not have the pot size anymore. He only jams, and he jams a lot. And that's because I know, like again, Daniel to call half of the time with ace king and ace queen, which as you can see versus that range now are huge losing. He's losing almost 220 big blinds with this call. So he's still mixing, right? He's not mixing on turn, he pure calls those on the turn, but he's mixing on the river. It's not like he pure calls these. So even when mixing half the time with these hands, he's still losing a bunch, right? So jamming here in Adamo's shoes is clearly a mistake when your opponent overcalls, right? And that's the lesson I think that we have to learn here. When your opponent overcalls, you just bet big. You don't follow GTO, you use 3x jam, 2x jam, even 4x jam, right? If you think your opponent cannot fold ace king, ace queen there, not even mixing, just gonna pure call those, I mean, you just gotta jam. And as you can see here, no bluffs, zero actual bluffs. 6-4 gives up, 6-3 gives up, Jack-8, 10-8 gives up. Everything, no bluffing going on. So when your opponent overcalls, yeah, you just don't bluff. These are all value hands. Pocket 5s, 5-9 suited, pocket 7s, ace-7, ace-9, pocket 9s, pocket 7s, the straight. Just value. You don't jam as a bluff when your opponent overcalls. That's the lesson we have to learn here. Obviously, you never know what your opponent is exactly calling and what they're folding exactly. But a lot of the time you can guess, especially when you're playing versus weaker players. So that's what I wanted to look at, right? If it was a mistake or wasn't a mistake. I mean, it's clearly not a mistake when your opponent calls ace king almost pure, right? So yeah. Thanks for watching. And if you like that content, please subscribe and see you in the next one. Bye.